He actually beat the grocery store that they had everything packed. That's a good delivery boy. So what I've got right now is this. It's fine. It's cute. It's a little horse head and a heart, and it's little swirls and stuff. And I've got to fix his jaw. His jaw's making me mad, y'all, because I like a quarter horse jaw, and who don't want to have a quarter horse jaw? And I really want him to have a quarter horse jaw, because I'm a quarter horse gal. And so I'm getting real irritated with his jaw. I want him to have a quarter horse jaw. But that's a little bit better. So, I mean, I will still have to finagle with him for a while to make him exactly what I want. But what I've decided to do is to add a little bit more and just make it a little bit more interesting. Just to show that, you know, I gave it quite a bit of my energy. So what I'm going to do is make another swirl. And if you wanted to do, you could make 2 swirls that meet in the middle. Like you can make swirling this in, and then you can start swirling this in and pinch them together and turn them into a cage that can hold a bead. That's really cute. I mean, you know, it works. But I'm just making one huge swirl right now that I'm going to actually put inside of that open spot in that heart. So this is just going to take me a moment. Repetitive actions, let me tell you, but this has really helped my fine motor skills with my neuromuscular disorders. I mean, it's really done a lot for me. My doctor is just super happy with the range of motion and the strength that I have again in my hands. So I'm happy about that too. So I think that should be, yeah, that's about the right size. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop that little pop it right in there. And I'm going to thread that through. And I'm going to wrap it around this part of the wire. But I'm not going to like decorate it. This is just to affix it and hold it. I'm not wanting to create anything decorative. I just want it to hold my swirl in there. So this is when you get your needle nose pliers and you start really manipulating and pulling your wire. And sometimes you have to get really hateful with your wire and make it do what you want it to do, because wire can be quite a little turd sometimes. So I just want to wrap that on down, and what I'm going to do is kind of straighten this on out. Possibly even add a couple of beads there to disguise the bobble and the wire. Get creative, people. Nobody knows you make a mistake unless you tell them. I'm going to add a couple of beads there to cover the bobble and the wire, because I don't like bobbles in the wire. But I do not have my nylon crimpers, my nylon straighteners with me right now. So poop on that. So we're going to go back to easier ways to disguise issues. And one of those ways is to simply add beads. And adding beads is never a bad thing to projects. People normally really enjoy the bead work. They really, really do. And a lot of people actually really enjoy some of the flaws in the work, because it makes it seem like you're less perfect. And I don't know if anybody's ever noticed, but you know, a lot of people don't like people that are like perfect. So, well, you're welcome. It's actually not that difficult, but it doesn't have to be perfect. That's the biggest thing. The biggest takeaway from this is that it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be anybody's ideal except for yours. Now, you're going to ruin your fingers doing this, and if you have a manicure, you might as well kiss it goodbye. But this is really great exercise, especially if you're like me and you have motor skills that are trying to up and leave you. So I enjoy this probably a little more than I should, because it helps me in a number of ways. And Sophia, you got my did you get my email the other day that I mailed your stuff? That was you, right? I mailed it. Well, actually, I made my husband mail it. I hope it gets there. So I'm just adding a few more, and you can go the whole way around if you want to, but I think actually what I'm going to do down here is to add 2 squiggles that come together. So I'm going to add 2 more beads, and then I'm going to finish the wrapping, and then I'm going to make a 2 spirals that come together, meet in the middle, that I can bend and then affix to the wire. So this is just, I don't know, I like to make really cute little things. I've got a lot of wire wrapping that I need to do. I've got a lot of projects. I've got some projects started for friends that I need to get done. But when the festivals come up, I have to use my time to make the things that make my husband money. So that is where my focus goes during those times. So, this just makes it a little bit, it just adds a little bit more detail, a little bit more It's hard to see against my shirt and stuff, but it just adds a little bit more flavor, I guess is what you would call it. And if you've got baubles, just work with them to get them out. Baubles are just, they happen to the best of us. Just work with them to get them out and to get that how you want it. Okay. So I'm kind of liking the way this is going now. It's going to probably hang very, very evenly. But what I'm going to do to add something in here is I'm going to add a double curl that meets in the middle that I can actually just wire around the bottom. And I'm going to do this out of 18 gauge again, just because it makes better spirals. It's easier to spiral on my hands. 16 gauge is great, but it can sometimes be a little bit more difficult for the hands. Now what I'm doing is I'm just doing this so that I kind of know how far the spirals need to go to meet in the middle. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it just helps me know how far I need to be moving the spirals, because you kind of get into like a spiral coma, and you just keep going and you forget. You forget that you probably needed to stop a few minutes ago, and then you've got one side that is way bigger than the other side. So I just start with making one little curlicue, and then I'm going to grab it with my flat nose, and I'm going to start wrapping it. Doesn't have to be perfect, just needs to be a spiral. Each spiral is its own creation. And if you sell these and somebody comes by your booth and they're like, well, those are not the quality of stuff I would like to buy, well, it's okay. They don't have to buy them. Don't listen to those people. Those people are not, they probably don't appreciate the hard work and the education that you've had to give yourself to learn how to do this. So don't pay those people any mind. It happens to me too. And I'm just like, okay, thank you. That just makes me want to work harder. I appreciate your time. And I'll let them go on. People can be very vicious. Got a hair on my face. And you just kind of have to allow people to think what they're going to think, because sadly they're going to anyway. So now I'm going to go and I'm going to do the other side. And I'm going to make this curl toward this in the same manner. I want it, because I'm going to wrap it around when I meet in the middle. I'm going to use the wire itself to affix it to the heart. Now, I've never made one of these, so this I'm learning as I go. I'm learning with you. I thought about it all last night, but that still doesn't mean that everything goes as planned. So sometimes you just wing it. And if something doesn't look right, you sit back and you take another gander, and then you go, well, I can add this, or I can take that off, or I can redo this, or I can repurpose this. So this wire is truly, not that expensive. And if it's something that you want to learn how to do, it's absolutely worth taking your time to learn how to do. And I'll show you how I make the hook for hanging them from the rear view in just a moment. It's very simple. It's like the simplest thing ever. Okay, now I've made these two little swirls that just go to each other, but I've left some wire in the middle. And I'm going to bring them as close as I can, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this wire down here to wrap. And this is going to be difficult because I have to wrap around the little V in the heart and still try to maintain the integrity of my spirals. But like I said, doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to suit you. It doesn't have to be great. Hook that nose just a little bit better right there because that nose wants to unhook. And that's okay. You'll learn as you go. So that's what I have right now. And I think he's cute. I think he's got a lot of pizzazz. He's got a lot of style. A lot of people will look at this and go, how in the heck did you make that? It's not super difficult, but it's difficult enough to where people should appreciate the time and effort you put into it. Now, if you want to make a hanger for it, you can take some of your larger gauge wire, not too awful much. Take your curlicues here, and what you want to do is you just want to make a loop and take it all the way to where it looks basically like that. Okay, and then you're going to take your flat nose and you're going to grab the loop, and this is where you may actually have to take another pair of pliers to wrap this, but I've got pretty sturdy hands right now, so I think I can manage it. And you basically, oh no, let me do this so it looks a bit better. So you're basically just going to wrap around this wire. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to go around the wire. I try to keep them evenly spaced, but sometimes it just won't happen. And sometimes you just got to live with the way it wants to take shape. I do always try to pinch that outside little spike in because I don't want anybody to hurt their hands. So now you've got this little loop that's got a very sturdy, like it's not going to break. So they can put a piece of nylon cord, a piece of jute, a piece of twine through there, and it's going to hold indefinitely. And what you do is you find the best point, and I need to crimp this right here on this horse's nose so it stays. Hang on just a moment. You find the best point to hook this so that the weight is going to hang it pretty evenly. And so normally it's like right around there, right around his ear. Mine's going to be like right around there. So I'm going to take that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make another one of those circles, but I'm going to leave it kind of open so I can slide it around. I'm going to put him through here, hook it on, straighten that. And this is where you have to play with your wire a little bit because you want it to absolutely crimp to that one spot. And so you do kind of have to get a little hateful with your wire at times and go, no, you will live right here. Because sometimes it takes a moment to make the wire obey. And mine is being a butthole right now, so I'm going to have to use two separate things to tighten it up. So sometimes it's just necessary to bully it a little bit. So I'm going to bully it a little bit. I'm going to bring him on around and tell him he's going to have to be tight. And now I'm going to start wrapping. And when I start wrapping, I'm probably going to have to also use the two separate clips again. Because nothing with my hands goes correct the first 15 times. That's okay. It happens. I'm actually going to take this and reconnect it because I don't like the way it connected over that. I'm going to twist them around. Gotcha. And if he doesn't end up right where you want him, don't worry. You can still add a little bit of glue and it will live there forever. Especially if you use jewelry and metal glue. It ain't gonna go nowhere. Okay, so now we're gonna do this. And if you wanted to add beads on this as well, you could. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be as pretty. Some people like to really dress things up. I'm not. I like things a little bit more plain. Leave it to my phone to ring at this exact time that I am on the internet. So I'm actually just taking this up looser and wrapping it. I'm going to also tuck in that sharp spot. And this is going to be one, sadly, that I'm going to have to add a little bit of glue on to make it stay where I want it to stay. But that's okay. It happens. And I will also take him outside and hammer him a little bit on my deck boards. And that way he will harden up a little bit and not move as easily. So I'll straighten that out as well. So he will have a hanger. He will hang just like that when I glue him because that's where his balance will be. And somebody can add jute or a beaded wire or whatever and hang him to their rearview mirror. And they have a really cute little decorative item. And when you get up close, you start looking at all the swirls and stuff. It's really cute. And they want to know how you made it. And it's not that big of a deal. So that is today's wire wrapping lesson. It's really cute. I'm really tickled with it. I'll probably keep this one since it was my first one for myself and then improve upon the next few so that I can sell them. And I'm going to be making another one out of clothes hanger. That takes me a little while longer because it is strong, strong metal. And when I do that, I will share that with you all. So that completes this tutorial, and I'll try to be back later with my educational video on Upchurch. But right now it's lunchtime. Bye, y'all. You're welcome.